Great. So, welcome everyone. This isn't the official start of the meetup today, but I'm just going to give everybody a chance to get on. But while we're doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what this actually is, what we're meeting for today. So, today we're going to meet a mentor that is new to the Mastrius community. And her group is going to be launching this coming Monday, the 11th at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And Rose practices in oil, gouache, and figures and foundation, drawing and charcoal. And she specializes in technique and marketing. So those are kind of some of the things that we'll be able to look forward to when her class launches this Monday. She hopes to have a group that is focused on finding one's artistic voice through the fundamentals of design and color. And her group members will learn the essential steps to creating strong composition with confidence. So without further ado, welcome Rose Irelan. We're glad to have you in the Mastrius community. So please take a few minutes to tell us about yourself and what you'll be sharing with us today.
Great. Yeah. So what I'll be sharing a little bit about myself. I've been a professional artist for 20 years, and the 20 years previous to that, I was a graphic designer and an illustrator. I went to school in Columbus, Ohio, and graduated in 1980 as illustration major at the Columbus College of Art and Design, which is known for its illustration program and its strong color and design. I was recruited from Hallmark Cards in 1980 after graduating, but went there and visited the job. I thought that would be my dream job, but I wasn't crazy about it.
Oh, no.
So after all that, so I got married, went to Europe, and actually, broadened my horizons in other ways, and ended up moving to California. And there I pursued my art career as a graphic designer and illustrator, which kind of morphed into all kinds of things, branching into multimedia, website design, and branding, and then towards the last 8 years of my career. So I was an art director. So I understand the fundamentals of design across the board, and I guess that's where the marketing comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can it not? All that experience,
yeah,
right?
all that experience. Yeah. But then, after having 3 kids and all that crazy, deadlines and everything with advertising, I just was ready to get back to my roots, which was always in painting and color. And so there I was, ready to pursue my fine art career and open up a little art school. At the time, I was a mom with 3 young kids, and I could see at the schools, they weren't really teaching the kids fundamentals anymore. It was just a lot of crafty stuff. So I really wanted the kids to get their hands into just classical drawing and form drawing and working with charcoal and paint and getting messy, mixing colors. So that's where I started with my art school. And on the other hand, I pursued further training based in an atelier tradition of learning back to classical, figure drawing. And I studied with Jeffrey Watts and studied with Daniel Pinkham on painting. I was doing figure, I was doing workshops in color, I was doing plein air, and I just kind of immersed myself, kind of like my own master's program.
Nice.
Yeah, I just kind of put it all together and spent, I knew it was going to take a while to just really get my skills back at the level I wanted to be a representational fine artist painter. So
makes good sense.
Yeah, so it's been a really fun journey. And, now I'm just, I just love sharing this with people. I just have a joy for the craft and design and painting, and I like to share it with others. And it's just brought so much joy to my life, and I've seen it bring so many people alive.
Yeah, it's an emotional experience sometimes.
It really is. And it's just such a fun blend of yeah, emotion and spiritual and, you know, using your mind. And it's just, you know, combining all those things. It's just a wonderful, um, art is just a wonderful thing to pursue. And I love to keep that alive.
That's excellent. So, in your demo today, what are you going to be concentrating on?
So I am just going to concentrate on color. I have
Okay.
a slide presentation on color. Yay.
Yay.
I've been teaching for 20 years. So, and it's like no matter what the level I'm teaching, everyone just really seems to have the most questions and the most problems with mixing color and understanding color. And so I just like to dive deep into some color and yeah, and start with that because I feel like, yeah, our paint is our main tool. We're painters.
Right.
It just seems like sometimes everyone like wants to jump in and oh, it's so fun. And then they hit a crashing wall like with why do my colors look so bad? And you know, it just
Right.
there is a real logic, there is a real science to color. And so yeah, we're not going to do anything fancy. We're not going to do a fancy painting or anything. We're just going to mix color. First, I have a presentation to kind of just give you a background on really all the not all the fundamentals, but some fundamentals of color. And then we'll do some demonstrations with mixing and just on
Awesome.
how I manage my palette and everything. And you guys are welcome to, we have a small group, so anyone's welcome to interact. I mean, I kind
Okay,
of
I was going to ask that, Rose.
Yes.
Thank
yeah,
you.
nice to meet you, Joyce. Yeah,
Thank you.
I
Nice to
really,
meet you too.
yeah, it's so nice to meet you. I taught live classes for so long, and I like it when in the Zoom where we can actually make it like a class.
Yeah, it's more
Great.
personal.
Yeah, so it's nice to
Good.
meet you. Where are you from, Joyce?
I'm originally from Ontario, and right now I'm in Florida.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
hard.
So I see all the snow there. That's pretty engaging. We're going up for the holidays, so we will get our hit of snow.
And Doug's a student of mine. He's been taking my one-on-one mentorship, and he's
Nice.
workshops with me.
Hi,
So
Doug. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Looking forward to this.
Great to have you.
okay, well, without any further ado, I'm just going to jump into my PowerPoint. So I'll share my screen.
You bet. You should be able to.
Yeah, I should be able to.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning here and play. Okay. So I put together this little PowerPoint because it just helps me, it prompts me on all the key points I want to tell you guys and without forgetting. There's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, so the principles of color harmony and paint mixing tips to make your colors sing. All right. So I'm going to move. I wonder if I can move this little window down. Okay, hold on. So I might just show it this way because let's try this again. We have that little, is there any way, Jamie, that you can move the little window down or move it so it's not in the way when I make it big?
I'm not sure I'm seeing which little window you're meaning.
Okay, so you guys see the color, the slideshow right now, right?
Yep, you bet.
Yeah, and so do you see all the display, the gallery display over on the other side, or do you see my whole screen?
Just the entire screen of color principles of color harmony and paint mixing tips to make your colors sing.
Oh, so it's just my setup. Okay.
Yeah, it must just be on your side.
Okay, that's great. Oh,
You
what?
bet.
Can I make it go away or no?
Try
I
hitting
think-
more.
What?
Try hitting, I don't know if that'll do it. Oh, no.
If
Okay,
you go
well,
up into your view, do you have a little toggle at the top right hand side of your screen that says view?
let's see. Sorry. Let me go back to
Let's
play.
see if I can take a
view.
Yeah, so right beside it, there should be a screen
Oh yeah, screen.
picture. Give
Yeah.
that a click and see what it does for you.
Oh, I see. So there's some different options. Well, at least that's smaller. Oh, that's better. Okay. That way it's not in my way.
Is that helping you out?
Yeah, a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we'll move on. So this is the Munsell color system, and this is what I learned in art school about color. I mean, I studied the Munsell color system for 4.5 years. We had a really
Wow.
extensive color class.
Wow.
And but this is just like kind of an overview. But the principles of color are value, hue, and chroma. So you want to think of color as it goes up and down the value scale and around the actual color wheel, and thinking about how, like, when the color, if you look at the little chart where it has value going on the vertical and then chroma and hue are on the outer edges, as you mix the colors, as you cross mix the colors, like for a complementary mix, say like a yellow and purple blue, like they have a yellow and a purple blue here, as you mix complementary colors or triads, they get neutralized and they go towards the middle value or the neutrals in the center of the color wheel, if you think of it like three-dimensionally. So a lot of people have a problem with color when it gets to mixing the unusual color combinations and then how to create those beautiful neutrals. So I'm all about the beautiful neutrals. I feel like the neutrals and the in-between colors is what really makes the color sing, especially when it's like orchestrated with other bright, pure chromatic colors. So it's like combining those two things. So harmony is in color theory, it refers to the property that is aesthetically pleasing color combinations that you can experiment with. And so we're going to talk about some of those. And some of the main combinations are complementary colors and split complementary colors and color triads, which are primary, secondary, and tertiary, and analogous colors, which are colors that are grouped together in similar families. So the most underutilized tool I find is the color wheel. So really, get yourself a good color wheel and make that your friend. Really get to experiment with these color combinations and use it in your paint pigments. So color theory is one thing, and it seems like some people understand the color theory more on a cerebral level, but then you need to practice the color theory with the pigments that you have at hand and be more intentional about it. And that way you will find a lot more range of colors and neutrals and unusual combinations. But on the color wheel, you can just spin it around and you have like everything right there at your hand with the triads and the split complementaries and the complementaries and the analogous. It's all there. And it's just a matter of deciding on what type of color grouping you want to play around with. So color, I'll just go through some of the basics, but complementary colors are colors that are directly opposite of each other on the color wheel. Sometimes it's just fun to do, some of this stuff, it might be kind of basic for you, but it's funny how even like if you've been painting for a while, you just kind of sometimes can get in a rut where you're not really being creative with your color, like just trying a painting that's all complementary colors can really push your creativity and your expression. So I really encourage, and I will be encouraging folks in my mentor group to really, stretch their the skills and stretch what they would, out of the box and try different things with color, because you can really find a new aesthetic and you can start expressing more about what you want to say in your art instead of just trying to copy everything. Because we art designers, we're not just, copying things. So I think that's where it gets really fun and where we can, really stretch.
Do you find that that is sort of a space where people kind of come into their own artistic voice as well?
Yes, I do. I do. And I can say firsthand, it's where I came to about finding my own voice. And so I find that it's a really, great thing to share because it has helped me so much.
Okay.
Yes. When I first started painting, I just was so concerned about getting it right.
I know you're so terrified to make the mistakes, but it's what you really learn from those mistakes, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it doesn't look like the photo, or it doesn't look like what I see. So, at first we all go through that. And I call that the academic stage. And there's a place for that, right? And we have to learn the academics of art. But I like to intersperse and kind of cross train, even if you're still in the academic stage. It's like, come on, let's just, you do the academic stuff. That's super important, but let's stretch and try, just a painting with complementary colors or split complementary colors. What happens then? And I just find that this type of thing just recharges us. It's not so mundane, and it gets exciting, So I really love the cross training thing. I'm very classical, as far as, I want people to, learn how to draw and understand color and perspective and design. But at the same time, I want folks to find their own voice. And I think you have to intersperse your knowledge base with some fun stuff. And color's fun.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So we talked about complementary colors, and then split complementary is just like you just take a complement and then you take the other two colors next to it on the color wheel. And that's always a really interesting combination. So these arrangements, these color arrangements have been used for hundreds and hundreds of years. They've been studied, scientifically and from artists, and the harmonies that they create are just aesthetically pleasing. And so it's a good idea to find, when you're working with a painting, something that you think might work for that painting, and give it a try, and limit yourself to just those colors within that arrangement. But remember, you're going to be intermixing with all these colors. So your yellow with the blue is going to make all types of shades of green, and even your yellow with purple makes unusual greens as well. And then your yellow with like your red violet's going to make interesting oranges. And then when you intermix those together, those complements together, you'll get all kinds of grays. So it's not that you're just using these three colors, you're using three pigments or three hues to intermix and make an array of many, many different hues and colors.
Hey, Rose, a
Yes.
quick question.
Yes. Joy.
So you look at the colors here, and of course, at first I couldn't figure out, what matches in the way of the name of a hue, a tube of paint, to the color wheel. And I kind of studied the Quiller wheel for a while, so it helped me identify where the pigments fall.
Oh yeah, I studied that. I studied with Quiller and my watercolor.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so are you going to talk about that at all? Like, I look at the purple here, and I know it's a combination of like a violet and I guess a red.
Yeah, I'm going to demo that. Yeah, I will demo that. Yeah, there's one thing that I will touch on though with you when you're coming up with these arrangements, and what we'll do in class is I will give you some suggestions, every time that we work with it. So We don't usually, I allow, you know, you to expand. Like, let's say you're working with, let's go to a triad, because that's what we're going to work with today. So on a triad. So like if you're using like a red, blue, yellow triad, a primary triad, I like to encourage everyone to experiment with 4 or 5 pigments within that triad. So today, for instance, I'm going to demo on a lemon yellow and Indian yellow and cadmium red light and alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. So I'll have 2 yellows, 2 reds, and a blue, but they're within the 3, you know, triad hues.
Okay. What was the blue you
So
said?
one,
Ultramarine blue, and I'll be demoing that, so you'll see. So it all makes sense.
you kind of have a warm and cool of
Yes,
the yellow and the red.
And
Okay.
and I want to talk about transparencies too. So the colors can change according to whatever you want, but I will be giving assignments that would kind of help us expand out and understand this more, you know, to experiment more. I know a lot about different pigments because I've been studying it for a while. And so, you know, in a nutshell, you know, the selection of your color scheme, which I was just saying, should be thoughtful and have a purpose that supports your big idea or your subject matter. So, as I said, our paint is our tool, so we want to get to know it really well. So I want to talk about some properties of paint. At first, though, I just want to touch base on these few points. You know, as painters and artists and designers, we make use of these harmonies to achieve certain moods or aesthetics. And as painters, color is our tool. It's very important to understand the properties of our pigments and how color can be mixed to achieve hues and values and saturation of color that we are seeking. And the best way to do this, of course, is to become familiar with the pigments and to do color charts and study color combinations and study our pigments. And it's also important to understand the difference in the color pigments. Some are transparent and some are opaque. And we use these properties to our advantage as oil painters. And this can also go for acrylic as well. And so this is just an illustration of like my color charts that I have in my online course, but it's just a really basic color chart, but it really gets, you know, I just want people to be aware that, you know, it's the best way to study color is to, you know, really, you know, do swatches and color charts or some sort of fun little, we're going to do a triad color chart that's actually a little bit more organic and not as structured as these, which is always fun too. So, but I do want to talk about these different transparency versus opaque, because that's something that I find that a lot of people kind of just, it just kind of isn't, they're not utilizing it. So some key points that I want to talk about is that when only one transparent is mixed with an opaque, the mix will respond like a transparent color and will maintain its chroma and not get chalky. So you'll have a much better range of chroma in your color. Opaque colors gray down. So if you want a gray or more neutral color, you may want to use a mixture of cadmiums, more opaque colors versus the transparent colors. And then there's your synthetics, which are bright pigments. They're like your ruby red, your quinacridone rose and red, your phthalos, your synthetic hues. And those maintain a lot of chroma when they're mixed with white. There's just understanding these properties, you can use them as your tools to your advantage. So that's what, you know, we're going to experiment. I'm going to show you some things today. And, you know, the main thing is that you want it to support your statement. Another thing about opaques is to remember that they're heavier and they have like a stronger edge as they go down. So they have like more body. And transparents, we use those for our initial lay-ins. So, you know, we can work from a thin to thick or lean to fat. You know, the beautiful part about oil painting versus watercolor, and I've done both, but my specialty is oil painting, and this works for acrylic too. But the beautiful part about oil painting, I'll just say in general, is the transparency versus the opacity on the surface, and the luminosity that you get from playing around with that. You know, that contrast is what makes a painting so beautiful. And when you see a painting in person, that's what, you know, it just comes alive and the light hits it in all different ways. So it's really important as an oil painter to really get a handle of this. And it helps you with your technique too. As you're laying something down, it's much easier, obviously, to paint over thin and dark paint versus, you know, thick goopy paint that has a lot of opaques and whites in it. So, you know, we want to always, you know, work in a way that's very effective and that will layer really nicely, especially for alla prima painting, which is, you know, painting done all at one time, like what I do in plein air. So, you know, there's just a little chart here of the opaque, semi-transparent, and transparent. And, you know, I'll print this out. We'll have PDFs in the course and everything about with all my goodies. But in general, like today I'm going to be, you know, demoing with my transparents today are going to be ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. And then I'm going to show how Indian yellow is so way different when you mix it versus the cadmium yellow, which will also be on my palette. And then, of course, I have my white. Yeah, cool.
It's such a nice thing to know, too, when you're, for people that are starting out and people that have a lot of experience, what actual paints are opaques, semi-transparents, and transparents. Like, some people can read the side of the bottle and be like, oh, you know, I see the little square there. What does that mean? So,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even pay attention to that forever.
Right?
Yeah, right. It's like,
boy.
yeah, oh, this is a coincidence. Yeah, the ultramarine and the alizarin makes a really nice lay-in, you know. Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's funny. And then the semi-transparents are, you know, fine for lay-in too. But, you know, and then you learn like, oh man, that cadmium and that lay-in did not work out so well. You know, it's just, it's good to just, yeah, own it, you know, and right. Embrace these differences in their composite makeup. And okay, this might seem really basic, but I from time to time see people have their palette all scattered all over the place. So I'm just going to say it. Setting up your palette's really important. And so
do you set your palette up the same way every time?
I do.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you another illustration of how, well, you'll see how when I mix and everything, but yeah, I do. I think of it as piano keys on a piano. And, you know, you're going from your light high key colors on the left side to your darker colors on the right side, or you can reverse it, or you can have your lights on one side, you know, your warms on one side or your darks. It doesn't really matter as long as they make some sort of sense. Right. And then you keep it the same every time. I can do a nocturne painting plein air without hardly even seeing what I'm doing and work really fast because everything's there at the same spot. I mean, I have little lights and stuff, but you still can't see the color mixes real well, but you know, you just get to know it really well. And that's what you want. Always have more white all over there on the one side, and always keep my lights on one side and my darks on the other side when I'm mixing.
I noticed that you have a gray background on your palette, or a grayed palette. Is there a reason that you choose gray?
It's great for measuring the values. So, you know, like it's a number 5 neutral gray. And so I can kind of use that as a gauge. Okay. But but I have a couple different palettes, and today I just have my other palette that's attached to my easel, and it doesn't have the gray, but I have a grayscale, so you'll see that anyways. Awesome. But it is a nice thing, and it's I just had a piece of glass that was from like a pitch, you know, a framed picture, and I just spray painted the back of it with primer.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's a fun thing
so
to do.
Can you go through the pigments you've got out there?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. So, and my pointer doesn't work on this PowerPoint, so we'll just go. I'll guide you with my voice. So we have my white.
Is mine working?
Huh?
No, I
Oh,
can't do that.
With my PowerPoint, it doesn't let me have a pointer. I don't know why, but anyways, we'll guide you with my voice. So the white is a titanium zinc. Okay, so I use titanium zinc, the combination, and versus titanium. Sometimes I use titanium, but my favorite is titanium zinc. And the reason why is because I like that little tiny bit of transparency that the zinc adds to the mixture, and it allows my colors to have a little bit more chroma and richness, and it doesn't gray them down as much.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a tip. And then this is kind of a standard palette that's, you know, just something that I use all the time. And so I have my cadmium yellow light, and then I have my yellow ochre, and then I have cadmium yellow deep, burnt sienna, and then I have my cad red, which is right in the middle. And the red is, you know, close to a value 5. And then moving on, I have my alizarin crimson in cobalt blue, and then ultramarine blue, and I have ivory black over to the side that I use sometimes. So those are a good base. That's a good basic palette. It's a warm, cool palette with a warm and cool of each. The cadmium yellow light is our cool yellow, and our cadmium yellow deep is our warm yellow. The warm red, of course, is cad red light, and the cool red has a lot of blue in it, alizarin crimson. And then my cool blue is cobalt, and my warm blue is ultramarine. Classic warm, cool palette. And black kind of, it really does go in the blue family. It's considered like a blue. Okay. So there's that. So here's one of my messy palettes, but it's all making sense. I encourage everyone to, like I said, to keep your colors in the right, like I keep all my lights on the left side and my darks on the right side. And that's how I always mix. And then the middle is more of the midtones. So, you know, like you can either just put a line down. If you have a chaotic palette, you need to kind of train yourself to be a little bit more organized in your thoughts. How I always say it is a chaotic palette makes a chaotic painting. Okay. And an organized palette helps you be more organized in your painting and actually frees you up to be more expressive. I'm a very expressive painter, and but I have to kind of not be all over the place with my colors. All, you know, it has to make sense. So anyway, so I encourage everyone to like either use a line down their palette to train themselves to do this, like a line right down the palette and just do all lights on one side and all darks on the other side. Or you can do the railroad tracks like I have here with the lights and then the midtones and then the darks. You can experiment, and it's really helpful because now I just automatically do it. But I did it for years. I always had my little railroad tracks, and it really helps. Because I used to be a sloppy painter.
Are you changing the values of those, like the darks? Do you put your whites and change the values at this time, and then move them over to the left, so to speak?
Oh, if I want to experiment, no, it depends. Like if I'm making a big puddle of, are you saying like, if I want to alter the value of one of my darks, do I put it over to the other side?
Yeah. Do you, yeah, push it towards the lighter side, I guess.
I usually just grab some of it and then go and mix it over there and make a pastel-y color. But if I just want to do a little tiny test, like open up the color a little bit with I'll just do it right next to it. And I'll be like, oh, I wonder what this color looks like if it has a little bit of white. And I'll just take one side of it and add a little bit of white and see what it looks like, how it blossoms open. It's just kind of a way I think of it. Like, let's open it up. Let's see what it looks like. So I'll demo that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you want to understand the inherent value in color, so that, you know, some colors are just inherently light and some are midtones and some are dark. And that's why I have my palette set up that way. So, you know, if you understand all this logic, it all makes sense why you would set up your palette like this and why you would go through the trouble of being neat on your palette, so you can do your craft, so you can paint. And this just shows a little bit about, these are all, we had to do all these little squares in our color class on the Munsell color system, and learn all about how the color, you know, how the opposites mix into the beautiful grays. And the professor of our class was Mr. Kanzani, and he was from Russia. He was a Russian painter, and he was really into, everyone called it the Kanzani grays. He's like super into grays. And for us to learn all those different neutrals, but, you know, by cross mixing and embracing all those beautiful neutrals. And you can think about keying your colors to value families. And we work a lot about this. This is a big part of what I teach, is, you know, understanding value, and then how do you transition from understanding value into color and maintaining that structure. So you want to think about, like, this illustrates, like, on the left hand side we have our dark keyed tones, and then we have some mid-tones in the middle, and our light high key tones. And that is a way to really manipulate the mood of a painting. And also just understanding this will help keep the form and the structure of your painting. Okay, whoops. Oh yeah, so then we, you know, here's, like, he was asking if I manipulate the color, you know, when I add a little bit of white. These are called color ladders. This is another thing that you can do when you're trying to find out the range of a color. You know, it's like, I'll experiment with this, but it's called a little color ladder. And those are, you know, your palette is where you want to experiment with things, not on your canvas. Like, do it on your palette first.
Yes.
Then you
Makes
can
good sense. That was actually one of my questions I was going to ask, is if you, when you're sitting down to do a painting, do you go through your color work prior to starting your painting? So that's great that you answered that. I
do.
Yeah.
So, like, I do these charts that I'm going to demonstrate today, and I won't get the whole thing done, but this is kind of what it looks like. So before I do one of my studio paintings, now I can't do this outdoors. Obviously, I'm just trying to capture the light and all that outdoors. But when I'm ready to do a studio painting, I take the little time, you know, to prep for it. I think about, okay, what kind of color harmony do I want? What kind of color arrangement? So, you know, today I'm just going to demonstrate with what I have here, which is a triad. And then I'll think about, okay, so what kind of pigments do I want? And then I also think about, oh, you know, like, I don't want all opaque pigments. So, you know, what kind of transparencies am I going to use, and what kind of opaque paints am I going to use? And yeah, and then I just go from there, and I do this this color chart, and it helps warm me up, and it gets my brain into color and understanding all these cool color mixes. And every time I do one of these, every time I do one of my studio paintings, you know what, like one of my major, you know, paintings that, you know, I really want it to work out, not just an experiment, but I will do this and explore it before I do the painting. And on the edges are all the neutrals. So, you know, on the neutrals are just like those really crazy intermixed colors. And, you know, I just like to see where can I go with those. But every time I do one, I learn something new. It's so fun. By the time you get done with one of those color boards, you're just ready to go. And I talked about this already. These are just kind of fun to look at. These are some more of the geeky Munsell color system things. but it shows like in a theoretical chart, like kind of what we want to do with the pigment. Unfortunately, at my school, they taught us all this theory and we did all these little color squares and stuff, but we didn't have somebody helping us mix paint and showing us how to do it. Then they just let us loose in the paint studio and they just say, oh, just paint whatever you want. Of course, this was in the 80s and there's abstract expressionism happening. So no one ever showed us or did anything else.
You were left to your own
Wow.
devices, were you?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So this is something that's where I kind of took, I picked up from that point. I'm like, okay, we need to know more.
That's awesome.
So this is like an example of what I'm describing to you when I'm doing like a, you know, a major work. I have like my plein air study is over to the right. And then I have my charcoal sketch, which is showing me, helping me with my grayscale, you know, my value scale. And then I have my my drink, which is right in front, right in front of my triad, and my painting. This is just the thin wash stage of the painting. You can see how my palette's kind of organized.
Wow.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's a fun
Nice.
work. Yeah, it really helps. And then I just have a few fun things to show you before we jump into the demo, but this is a piece from Daniel Pinkham. I had the opportunity to study with him, and he's a fantastic colorist, and he's just so great at evoking emotion in his colors and mood. So this is kind of fun to just, you know, see where color can take a painting with the mood and the atmosphere. I just picked a few that just, you know, really stood out. Oh, I meant to put the name of this artist on there. Oh, Tim Larson. God, I'm glad I remembered. Tim Larson. So he's a contemporary to Daniel Pinkham, still around. So is Tim Larson. Anyways, just look at this limited palette here. This is basically a complementary palette of a blue, violet, and yellow, orangey kind of palette. Super limited and just so effective. So there's, you know, there's a statement there. And then of course, Joaquin Sorolla.
Sure.
Yeah, love this guy. Just again, though, you know, it looks like a limited palette, you know, with the violet yellow. Probably those greens are made with that, you know, like the split complementary. You know, with that I showed you, the second slide I showed you, probably with the blue and the gold yellow, you know, mix those greens and then the violets in there. It's really beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm all about expanding your creativity through limitations. So we limit one end and it helps us expand on the other. And talking about limitations, you got Anders Zorn, and he was he had a super limited palette of just yellow ochre and a cadmium red and a bluish black. Yeah, and white. So he did all of that with just those limited colors, and that allowed him to express more with his, you know, paint more into his edges and the drawing, and so much just comes alive in this painting with the absence of a lot of chroma. It's not necessary. On the other hand, there's Sergei Bongard. And
Yeah, it
Sergei
goes from one extreme to the other there.
I know. I'm like, that'll be fun. Sergei Bongard was one of Daniel Pinkham's teachers, and he's a Russian master. And he loved bright color, but where he was really good about was limiting his values. I don't have an illustration of this one, but when you reduce it down to just grays, it's just like 3 values. So, I mean, it's just really a tight value scheme. So you can't really notice that because of all the bright color, but that's the cool thing. But he knew it. He knew what he was doing. This is Clifford still going, you know, in the abstract world, but just, you know, a statement is made here with just such brevity of color. And, you know, it's just, that's what's really, you know, you don't need everything, you know, you don't need everything. Limiting can say a lot more. And Tom Thomas, a Canadian painter, which you guys probably know. I picked one of his more abstracty ones, but what I love about this is in the whole sky area, it's really one value, very close to one value. And look, yeah, look at all of those crazy colors he's got going on. And he has such restraint in getting those colors to be very close in value, to have an airy look to it. And same with the water too. So there's a lot you can do when you know, work on these ideas. And then another one, totally different one from Tom Thomas, but again, all the different variety within the darks here, the darks and the midtones have so much variety, but they stay together because he's grouped them together according to value. And, you know, in the background, you see how that drops off, and it just is so effective. So that's what we aim to do. And then Van Gogh here with just a analogous scheme, just, you know, super tight scheme with just the blue and the greens. And so happy holidays. So I'm going to go ahead and do my demo now. So I'm going to switch cameras.
Yeah, we have roughly 15-ish minutes, 15,
Oh,
20.
perfect. Yeah, it won't be, you know, it's just a little something that you guys could play around with. Oh, hi, Kaylee. Another one of my students. Hey. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And no, not right. Oh, yeah, I got to do another camera. That's right. Never mind. Let's see. How do I get out of there? I don't want to do that.
There we go. Oh.
Oh, no, I want to do something else. Sorry. I want to get over to my webcam. Okay.
There we go. We got you.
I don't see it.
Do you want?
We
I'll
do.
see if I can.
Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. I need to just highlight that one. Oh, no.
Enjoying the video? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when new Mastrius videos are added.
So let's get started. So, you know, I showed you the fun, you know, you saw my color charts that are with all the squares and everything. And you can always do one of those, several of them. It's part of my online course. And that's always a great thing to do if you've never done it. But this is also like the procedure that I do that's a little bit more loose and fast, and I do it before I do the paintings. So what you want to do is you want to start out, we're going to do a triad. So you just start out with your colors like so. I just use a palette knife. So I have my cadmium yellow light here, and then I have my Indian yellow. And you know, why did I do that? Because I want to see the range. I want to show you guys like how the opaque and the cool yellow is different in its mixing than this Indian yellow. And then with my reds, I'll put these down here. I've got my cad red, and then I have my alizarin. And then over here, I'll have my blue. And this is
Oh, I think we're missing part of the bottom of your painting.
Oh, really? I see
Yeah.
them.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Does everybody see them okay? Kate, we
Yes.
got the thumbs up.
Okay, good. All right. So there we have it. And I'll have to move this back and forth because I'll be showing you some mixing, but that's okay. So obviously, so I'm just going to move this over here a little bit. There we go. By the way, this is my little value scale that I have, and I can always refer to that, you know, when I'm doing some other work, but that's a whole nother lesson. So with this arrangement, you can just start getting mixing, like you can start, you know, I'm keeping everything, you know, that's in the warm family over here, but you know, like my yellow and my red, you know, some of the beginning mixes are super obvious because they're just our secondary mixes. But you got to start somewhere. So, you know, my yellow and my red, these are two cadmiums. Okay. So cadmium plus a cadmium equals a cadmium. And it's also opaque. These are both opaque. But let's change it up and let's see what happens when we use these transparencies. Like if we use the red, alizarin red, with the Indian yellow, oh my goodness, you know, it's like a whole different world. So we'll do something like this. And you can even see when you get on the board, like there's a transparent effect to that. Okay. And then for fun, you know what I'll do is I want to understand the tinting power. So, you know, like let's just do a little bit of white in with this mixture here.
So when you mix those, did you mix them approximately equal, the reds and the yellows?
Well, it changes, yeah, because like that alizarin was really strong, so I didn't, you know, I should have had a little bit more of the yellow, so that's why I grabbed this part here, and you'll get a feel for it. Yeah, they're not always half and half, which is why I really encourage doing these because it's all different with every single color. It's different. So now I want to understand the tinting power, you know, of this this mixture here. So I'm adding a little bit of my white, and I can see like it really maintains a lot of chroma. So that's very interesting. But what happens when I take my ones that had the opaque colors and add the white? It's much lighter, obviously, and it's a little bit more softer. It's a little softer. It's not quite as poppy. But that's good information to know, right? And so this is the type of thing that you want to explore, because it's better to figure it out now so you can kind of come up with the game plan. And remember that you're working in oil, you want to work from thin to thick and more transparent to more opaque in the later passages. So if you have a lighter color in the early stages, maybe you want to use these transparents with a little bit of white versus the opaques. So let's go into the red blue. The red blue. Might have to switch this like this. Maybe I'm gonna run out of room on my palette, but let's just work on the palette, and then I'll move it over. So I have my red and my blue. So at its very darkest state, we have it as a like this. I always put it down at its darkest state. You can see that, because I want to know how dark can I get my darks. Like, oh, that's a beautiful dark. Okay, that's going to be like my dark accent, perhaps my darkest dark. But I will open it up, like, you know, even though, you know, I'm trying to keep my lights here, my darks here, I'm not going to like travel this all the way over here when I just want to understand the color, especially at this stage. I just want to see like, okay, what happens when I open it up? So look at this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That ever change, eh?
Yeah, right. And so remember what I said about the transparent colors? They have a bit more pop and chroma when they're opened up with some white. So that's a pretty poppy, you know, poppy pure purple. So we'll put that on the chart here. Okay. And now let's compare. I'll bring my chart over there in a minute, but let's compare. If we use ultramarine blue, let's do it over here. Ultramarine blue with cadmium yellow light. Okay, so wow.
Cadmium red light.
Yeah.
Cadmium red light, yes. Okay, so it makes like a, I don't know if you can see it, but it looks the same as that, but it feels very different. It's definitely more opaque. And I'll just put this here for fun. It definitely goes down with more of an edge, like my little note said. It's like, oh yeah, like it is opaque. Like you can't scrape it and see the surface qualities underneath it like you could with the transparent, you know. It's different.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, you know, that's different. So now what happens when I add the white? It's kind of more grayed down, isn't it? Completely different color. If it had more red, you know, if I wanted to put more red to kind of make it like, okay, how purple can I make it like close to what I just did? That's a little bit more there. I guess that's pretty close to the other one, but it's a lot more opaque and it's a more grayed down version. Now you can see it. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting. So, and then we'll go to the blues and the yellows and play around with some greens. So we have our ultramarine blue with our yellow. So we have one cadmium and one transparent. When they're together, though, it has more of a transparent quality. But I do feel some body in it. I feel like it's semi-transparent now with the yellow in there. But we'll pop that on our chart between our yellow and our blue. And let's see what happens to that when you open it up. I always do like to see, you know, the lighter version of it. I kind of do it while I'm going because otherwise I'll forget and I'll get confused. So I just kind of do one as I go for these charts. You get the hang of it. The first time you do it, it might seem kind of confusing, but there's that. Okay. And then what happens with the blue and the Indian yellow? Oh, it's super dark. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's another, that's another very dark. Here, I'll just try to get it more so it actually reads like green since it's in the middle of yellow and blue. So we'll try that one. So this is my Indian yellow. Okay, with ultramarine blue. So kind of looks like a sap green.
Yeah, very much.
Sure, it would be a better choice for a lay-in for sure. And then if I open that up, what happens to that color? It's so interesting. It definitely has more of a warm color. They did pretty much the right, you know, the same ratio on these. So you can see just already the range of colors we're getting with just 3 colors, 3 hues, and 5 pigments. I mean, you can go pretty crazy. So then from this part, you know, I can start intermixing like, well, let's do my yellow and my purple so we can get like a grayed down version. So we can take like, we'll go back to this version here, which was the transparent version. And we'll add some yellow to the purple. I think I need to make just a little bit more purple. This is what happens. You get really good at mixing. So there's more purple with those. That was the 2 transparencies. Okay, so with the yellow. I just kind of wanted to come at a middle ground, which I think is a middle ground. I guess something like that would be. So it's kind of like a dark gold ochre that it makes, the yellow and the purple. I'll put it right here. So that's kind of my middle. That was the transparent version. Let's see what happens when it's got a little bit of white in there. I think it needs a little bit more white. A little bit more. So I'll make it so you can see it better. There we go. There's that. And then the other mixture. Oh, that's the light version. I'll do the dark version too, but the light version and the dark version. So, you know, if you lose your sequence, just it's actually very good for the brain, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it's really good for the brain.
So when you're first starting out doing a process like this, would it be helpful to kind of write down the process that you want to do so that you don't forget, you know,
Yeah, you could.
part of the
Here's
process?
some neutrals here. Yeah, like what you could do. So at this point, like sometimes what I mean, I kind of just go more into it. We all think differently, right? So sometimes, you know, when I first started out, I just kind of rock and roll with it. But when I first started out, I would do things like this. So I could find the paths,
Gotcha.
so I do
that's
things
good.
like
Yeah.
this, and then I would do things, you know, we can do things like this. This was the more transparent one, right? No, this was the more
Yeah.
transparent this way, and this was a little bit more opaque, you know. And I just kind of play around with that. Like this was the more opaque one here. So you can do it visually, or you could write little notes.
Okay.
And your notes could be shorthand, like you could just say something like, this is like, here was the CAD yellow plus ultramarine blue versus this one was the, what was it? Indian yellow,
Yellow.
ultramarine blue. So you can do little notes like that too. Sometimes it might kind of make your brain hurt, but
Right.
it's super good for your it's like it's so similar to music, like learning scales and everything. So like, yeah, it's kind of hard at first when you're learning how to read the notes, but then they just come to you.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. So in the beginning, you might be a little slow and you might have to write a few notes like this was, or you could even just say like this one was more opaque. This is the more opaque one. Opaque, I can't spell. And this one is the transparent. You could do
Right.
something like that too. However, you can keep it straight. But you know, the main thing is also that you just need mileage. You just need time to spend with these colors and to really enjoy the process of mixing and to like say what if. So like even in this middle range, I'm starting to get some grays, but it's like, yeah, well, what happens if I take this green and I mix it with this red, because green and red are complements, right? Ooh, what happens when I do that? Let's see how gray I can make this. Can I make it like, how neutral can I go? And still kind of like have a neutral, but it has a temperature to it. Like that's a really beautiful neutral there. But this is like got more color to it because it has a transparency to it, but still this is like kind of like my red and my green over here. Right. So, you know, you want to find all those really fun colors. Like it's like, wow, that's a great neutral there. what
Very
what
pretty.
happens if I add a little bit more blue to it? And a little bit of alizarin. Let's see how neutral I can go with this. I want to see if I can make a gray. Okay, so if it's too purple, if something's too purple, then I need more of the complement to gray it down. So I'll just try to keep, I'm going to try to reduce this down to as neutral as I can get. Let's go with some more purple. Sometimes it's just understanding, like, how can I get those neutrals to read? So here's an interesting color here. If I
So
add more,
when you did your triad on that, on the painting that you showed there, when you did the original one, where you showed the
original,
painting and the notan and all the, and your, in your shop there.
yeah.
When you created that for your when you were doing your studio painting, were you trying to get those colors specifically, or did you just like the colors that you were producing and then you use those in the painting? That makes sense?
Well, yeah, it does. I definitely, you know, because like you can do this for a very long time, but here's some neutrals I wanted to just show you. Okay, so there's some, I'm always trying to reach for these in between colors. So see those beautiful neutrals?
Right.
But anyways, to answer your question, like that, I knew that had a lot of golds because of my my plein air study had a lot of golds and yellows. So I was really reaching for all the variety of golds and yellows. But then I also knew the rocks had all these beautiful browns. So I was trying to find those as well. So I do try to spend more time, obviously, exploring the colors that I feel that are going to be in my painting. But sometimes curiosity just kind of leads me. Other times curiosity leads me and I'm just like, ooh, I just want to see what wild colors I can come up with. Like those grays are beautiful, sophisticated grays, or, you know, how can I make my, you know, like the blue ocean color, you know, it was like it was a beautiful steely blue ocean color. So, you know, it was something along this range. You know, and it's heading down a little bit towards the blue family, but it's steely, you know, and then what happens with a little bit of white on that one. And so this is, you know, a whole universe opens up, as you can see.
Absolutely. All right, so we're almost at 10 after here. So does anybody have any more questions while we're here?
I have a question about the mentoring.
You bet.
Okay, so could you just describe how you're going to structure it? What you're going to cover and how you're going to, you know, are you going to demo or are you going to give us assignments, or have you thought about that?
Yeah, I'm going to well, first of all, I want to know who's in the class and to understand what everybody's goals are. So that's always something I like to find out. But then I do have kind of a structure that I stick with. And so I start off with really understanding design and composition, and we work with notans and value sketches. And I also want to make sure that everybody has a very thorough understanding of form drawing and lighting situations and being able to show light in an effective way. So that's all through value and notan and design. So we really push that in the beginning. I have just found that no matter how advanced somebody is, and I still always like learn so much from that. And it's always the structure that, you know, holds everything together. From there, we move into more color and more of this color work, the value to color and understanding. I'm always, you know, I always have lots that I can, share with color. Meanwhile, I will be having you guys do assignments, and the assignments are mostly individually based because it is a mentorship. So it's not like you're going to do everything that I do. I will always have references available that would go along with the theme of my lesson every month. But I encourage everybody to work with their own references, or they can use my references. It really doesn't matter, but to follow the theme, but then also kind of bridge out into what your area of interest may be.
Okay,
Excellent. Thank you.
that's awesome.
That's wonderful.
And then maybe Jamie can describe the structure of the mentorship.
Absolutely. I'm happy to go through that. So just for everybody to know, my position within Mastrius is called a navigator. So I would also be a student in Rose's class, but I also handle some of the technical side of things, and also any questions or anything about the platform or the program that you might have. So typically the first meeting will be getting to know each other. Rose would have something small set up for us to kind of kick off what we're going to be learning. And then she would give us a homework. Once we have our homework, we have about 2 weeks where we'll have a mid-month meeting just as the people in Rose's group. So Rose wouldn't be there, but just us as students to kind of, hash out where we're struggling, what we would like to continue learning, or, where we want to go in our learning, so that I can inform Rose as to, how everybody is faring with their homework, and maybe where we need more information or less information, so that our classroom time is utilized well, because we only have 2 hours with Rose when we actually sit with her. So once a month, you have your 2-hour master session, and then we have roughly an hour or so in the middle of the month on a date that works for all of us to get together in a Zoom class to, we can do work on our homework while we're, a paint and chat kind of thing, or however anybody kind of wants it to sit. And so it's set up very similar to any other platform where you would have your own profile within Mastrius, so that you can private message myself or Rose, like for communication. We'll have our own private wall where we'll be able to post what we're working on, get critique and help in between our classes, and library portion where we can put pictures that we've completed and things like that, so that Rose can see where we are as artists before we get going. There'll also be a small questionnaire that you'll fill out before our mentorship starts, so that Rose can get a good idea at what you would like to learn specifically as an individual. So it really is curated towards, it's a group learning thing, but it's also very individual, which is kind of nice, because you can have the time to ask questions when you need to. And you can also have the opportunity to rely on your classmates for encouragement as well. So it's a great setup. I've been part of it for about 3 years now, so it's awesome.
Yeah, you have the community, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And it's not like a huge time. It's the time commitment can be what you want. Like if I have a couple students here that are on the private mentorship, but there's a lot more that they're working on, but
Yeah,
it's what you make of it, and but it's like not like you're going to be on Zoom, every week. It's going to be very efficient, and the lesson be deep. Like today's is pretty deep. It's pretty heady stuff, and lots for you guys to grab onto and practice in your own practice.
And when do the sessions start?
The first session will be this coming Monday. So Monday the 11th, I believe the actual number is. And it will be at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I have that written down. Yeah, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So you just have to convert that to whatever your time zone is. And that's when it's starting. And so then once we start, we'll have a good idea about where,
It's
you know, our
5
next.
p.m.
Yeah, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
So that'd be 4 p.m. Pacific time, right?
Pacific time, yeah. That's right. All right. Any other questions?
And it would be
tonight?
7 p.m. Eastern time, I think.
That's right. Yep. Managing the time
Perfect.
zones is probably the most tricky part about all of it. All right. So if we have no more questions, do you have any closing thoughts, Rose?
No, I know that Katie signed up for it too. She's not here today.
Okay.
And how many people do we need to start the class?
We will be a go as soon as we have 3 people who have signed up. And the class will hold as many as 8 students. So, you know,
So it's an ongoing thing. So like if somebody got busy with the holiday and we still were able to go on
Yes.
Monday, then it
Yeah.
can grow up to 8 people.
8 people, yes. And every single session that we have with Rose is recorded, and you will have access to that as long as you have a membership.
And then we have like that really new little interface, that new interface that they just unveiled.
Yes, yes. So that's I can't remember what they named it, but as long as you have a paid up membership, you have access to every class you've ever been part of in Mastrius.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I know. And they have the YouTube thing too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So check
Well,
out YouTube.
yeah.
You
All
bet.
right.
This
Well,
will be
thanks,
on YouTube.
everybody,
All
for
right,
joining.
everybody.
Thanks, Jamie.
You bet. It was nice meeting you all.
Take care.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rose. Thank you, Jamie.
You bet.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.
Bye.